science. I mean, there was a brewery in, I think it was Iceland, and I almost tried this beer, and sadly I didn't get a chance, and it's so gross.
Right.
They took, it was whale testicles.
Okay.
And they smoked it on sheep dung and made a beer out of it. And it's so gross sounding and so awful, but someone I know had a bottle of it, and I almost had to try it. And I would have tried it for science because that's disgusting, but
you got to do like 3, 2.
3, 2, 1.
You don't say 1.
Oh, wait. 3, 2.
Welcome back, guys, to another episode of the Hoppy Craftsmen. Today's something doing a little special. Here, as usual, with Chris.
Hello.
But we are missing our man, Jeff, today.
He is gone.
If we can add some
in this
solemn
world.
music in the background, please.
Just gone from this episode.
Everybody take a moment. Okay, no, he's actually just sick, and he'll be back soon. But this week we're doing something fun, right, Chris?
We are doing something fun. We are here with Matt.
Yes.
Mike. Oh, my God.
Really? Mike.
I've been telling you, my wife, that your name is Matt for like the last...
We're here with Mike from Pacific Beer Chat, and we are recording dual episodes. Chris didn't just have some sort of major malfunction with forgetting our new friend's name.
I'm bad with names and numbers.
It's already. We did that to the guy at the Wandering Tourist.
Don't worry.
Oh my God, we were at the Wandering Tourist. I'm sorry, I'm starting to hydrate.
Sam, man, the coolest dude. But he told us our name, and just something happened, and it turned into something else, and
we called him
Rob
for like an hour,
for like 2 hours, like that. But his name's Sam.
Nicest guy. His name is Sam, though.
Super nice guy. So
didn't practice.
Good Rob too.
Derailment there for a second. But he looked like a Rob, right? Thank you. See, you get it, Mike. Thank you. Mike gets it.
Oh, yeah.
So, we're here to record double shows. I'm having some microphone issues here. Mike.
So this is the problem with having like our episode second is that we're...
Oh, no, we wasted all the good stuff.
We're like a...
This is like Adam Sandler. Like, we wasted the good surprise on you. Like, this you got the good show. No.
We get the sober show.
Yeah, you got the good show.
No, that's the less fun show.
No. At least it should be more informative.
That's true.
No, so what are you doing here in Arizona?
I'm just...
That's serious.
Do you like that? Is that not good?
That was very like
I've been doing this a long time.
Accusatory. Yes. So it feels like what do you say you're doing here?
What gives you the right?
I mean, us Canadians seem to come down to Arizona a lot in the winter to escape the cold weather, except that I like the cold weather.
You know, Mike, I was
here with family.
Mike, that's true. I wasn't going to get into this subject, but I go to a lot of Coyotes games, so I might as well. What is it? It's just like every time I go to a Coyotes game, I'm always outnumbered. Wait, do they... For any Canadians, like if they have any Canadian team, and they're all so polite. They're the most polite fans. You can't be mad at them, but they're all so happy when their team wins and your team's always losing. At least if you're a Coyotes fan,
it's okay. My Canucks are losing a lot these days, and we're not as polite to them.
Needless to there you go.
Polite to everyone else.
So it's just, I've had my experience with Canadians in the past, but I guess you're my favorite so far, Mike.
Perfect.
They're all, like I said, they're all ridiculously nice, but I've always been I've always had more animosity.
Well, I mean, we usually in Vancouver, when Toronto Maple Leafs come, it's all friggin' a sea of blue, and we're all so mad, so we know it too.
Exactly. There you go.
And
there you go.
Philly
okay, good.
Similar.
You get it.
A lot of Philly fans too, for some reason.
It's just like, go home.
Yeah. Or, I mean... Not as big an NFL fan.
Or be here if you want to be, but don't be here. Or or wear Coyote stuff if you're here. I don't know.
No.
Exactly.
I'll say this is I think that's every sporting event.
Yeah, I'm sure it is. Yeah. Like I said, I'm lucky though that they're the Canadians and they're just naturally respectful and just like, it's like, but our team won, and they always do if they're playing the Coyotes. So.
I was actually a little bummed out there wasn't a Coyotes game this week because we were going to go to one regardless of who they played.
Right.
And I was still going to wear a Canucks jersey, but.
Yeah, right. Yeah. So you would have been in good company, I'm sure. You probably had a few friends.
Yeah, probably.
So, no, it's funny. It's awesome to have you down here. And you brought us something. First of all, you brought us something good to drink.
Yeah, okay. We'll start with it.
You better brought something good for us to drink.
Oh, yeah.
I hope you like it.
Thank God. No.
I brought down a beer from Strange Fellows Brewing in Vancouver. It's the Cuda Fooder, which is a beer they age in. I think they still have one fooder, and it's just a New World Wild Ale, and it's really tasty. And I hope you like it.
I'm excited about it. The bottle alone is just.
You
got
like to
me
read?
amped
Why don't
up.
you read the back of that bottle?
I don't mind reading. That's true. I'm not necessarily very good at it.
Yeah, whatever. Who needs to be good at it?
You know, this
Nobody.
was per this heaven sent by arrow or lightning bolt. Love at first sight is thought to be a madness inflicted upon unsuspecting beings by the gods for sport. All right. Well, this is. I stopped by the way halfway through. If anybody noticed that. Yeah, man, I'm super excited to drink this. SF Brewing.
Strange Fellows.
Strange Fellows Brewing.
Yeah, Ian Hill is really well respected as a sour producer. He used to work at a small little chain brew pub, Yaletown Brew Pub, and the owner Mark James didn't really like sours, but he made a really popular oud brewing. And when he moved over to Strange Fellows and started up that brewery, he started producing tons of sours, and they're really well respected.
That's awesome. Aroma ripe, cherry and plum, color amber, character, round and tart with a dry finish.
What's in the front of that bottle? What's the logo? I can't see from here, Nate.
A dog and a reindeer? I don't know.
I'm not 100% sure. They all,
Not a reindeer, a regular deer.
No.
truthfully, a lot of their labels, they're really odd. They're strange. They do different events every month with some kind of strange, kind of like for wintertime, they do a Krampus beer. So they have an event with Krampus, doing photos
That's
with
awesome.
Krampus. And if you don't know who Krampus is, it's like kind of like the bad Santa from
He's
from is it Norway, Sweden, or
Yes,
something?
yes.
And the bad kids, they don't get presents; they get put in a sack.
Yeah.
well, get put in a sack and hit with a switch.
Oh, dang.
Yeah, they beat the bad kids there. So. It's fun. Like they always do something different. They're always
It's
playing on
fun.
some kind of. Well, no.
Yeah,
but
I know, I'm just joking.
They're always doing a kind of a play on some kind of strange event.
And that's
some
awesome.
weird, some tiny little weird cultural thing from somewhere else in the world. Just trying to make it different.
Yeah,
So
that's awesome.
let's bring this back to me making fun of Nate real quick. Mike, what is in the front of that bottle? Does that look like a reindeer at all to you?
No,
I saw a
not
deer on the
really.
bottom, right? It's a deer on the bottom. It's a rabbit. It's a rabbit and a dog.
Almost looks like a rabbit and a dog.
A
Yeah.
rabbit and a dog. That's what I meant. Sorry, a rabbit and a dog.
Or a reindeer.
Deer, rabbit. They're pretty close. That's so fucking funny.
I thought it was close. That's close.
Oh man.
Thumper and Bambi were pretty close. That makes sense.
Yeah. One thing I like too about Strange Fellows, they do the 16-ounce cans for their standard releases, but all of their more special releases are all in 750 bottles for the most part.
Ooh, not dipped it in the bottom at
Not
all,
dipped
though,
at
huh?
the bottom. No,
No, it's no little.
they're not the traditional champagne bottle.
Yeah,
no.
yeah. Okay, interesting.
They've even done a collaboration with Modern Times once.
Oh wow, cool.
Oh, it was so good.
6%.
What'd they make with them?
I think it was a funky farmhouse. I think.
That sounds good. Sold.
I
I think it was Strange Time for Modern Fellows is what the name of the beer was.
That's a
Really?
good name.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it was an amazing beer.
Strange times for modern fellows.
I think I have a bottle left in my
that's
cellar
badass.
still.
That's cool.
Holy
Very,
shit.
very lively. It was an exploding bottle. For anybody that's not here at the show and watching this,
Let's open the next bottle on the
yeah, we'll open
in the
over
kitchen.
We'll open the kitchen. Yeah. Well, look, at least here's I guess for this show, we normally open things over the mixer for some odd reason.
That's a really bad idea.
Yeah. So luckily this one was not over the mixer or my laptop, so that was really nice.
Listen. Normally we do it over the mixer because that again was guarantees nothing bad will happen. That's good reasoning.
Yeah,
right?
no. Not with wild ales.
Give me the shorter one. That's fine.
There you go.
I accept
You get
it.
the Bottle Logic one.
Yeah, give me the one that you like mouthed off of. And then, give me the one you.
Well,
the
you
fir-
mouthed
the
the
first
bottle.
pour from the mouth.
I
Aw, Chris, there's a bunch of beer coming out of that bottle. What are you gonna do? Put your mouth on it. Perfect.
Hey, it's better than me putting
Nailed it,
my
dude.
finger in it. What do you?
Yeah.
Like what?
Like a
You could put a glass under it, but
No, I had no
I'd
glasses.
go finger actually. Yeah. Hey, you had 3 glasses to your left.
That's.
You did good. You did good.
I'm not left-handed naturally, so I couldn't
did good.
really do that.
hey, you saved the beer. Went in your mouth mostly.
Let me tell you what. I should have got the smaller pour because I got the bigger drink of the beer.
Second show.
Woo! Second show. All right, so
Yeah. So what do we got here? Excuse me, we already went over that. The
coup de foudre,
The
yes.
coup de foudre. I can't wait to smell this.
smell. Now this smells
That
like
smells
ripe
good.
cherry and plum.
Yeah.
It smells the fruit on the smell alone.
Like it's not gonna punch you in the face, but it's got a beautiful aroma.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah. I feel like I'm wearing this is cologne. Hopefully the latest. Oh,
Yeah, like that.
feel like I'm already married.
The latest Strange Fellows cologne.
Yeah. I'm sure Ian and Aaron would love that.
Yeah, exactly. There you go.
I'm in.
So
We got a business opportunity for you.
So, from your position, Mike, what is the craft beer scene like in Vancouver? Is it raging? Is it tapering off? Is it, still in its build stage? What's it like just being a craft beer enthusiast there?
I think the last few years have been the really big pushes. It seems to be that the breweries are not opening as fast as they were. But Vancouver is probably the sort of the head of the craft beer movement in Canada. There is more breweries in Ontario, but it is a bigger place with more people. British Columbia in general and Vancouver was sort of where where craft beer really exploded. Mm-hmm. And I mean, it might have started on Vancouver Island in Victoria, which is the capital of BC. That's where the first couple of breweries really got going. But Vancouver was the launch point. And it's great. The one thing that's nice about Vancouver that you don't have here is transit is a lot better.
Yeah.
You can get to the breweries a lot easier. I mean, where I live in Vancouver, I can walk to every brewery in the city within an hour.
Yeah.
And then if I want to go outside to Port Moody, which has a small 4 breweries, but a great little scene, take a short bus and then a SkyTrain, which is an elevated train system right there. And it's a 4-minute walk to the breweries from this train station.
Missing out.
Yeah.
Which is something that would be great in
Come on,
Arizona.
SkyTrain in Arizona.
Yeah. And
As
it's
long as
funny.
it's in the sky.
We shouldn't have a SkyTrain because they don't work well when it does snow. And it does snow once in a while. And then it just grinds to a halt.
We need to get the monorail.
Yeah.
The Simpsons.
Oh yeah, there you go.
So lots of can releases, lots of bottle releases. Is it killing the paycheck? I mean, that's what honestly, living in the valley, that's the way it is right now.
Definitely.
It's every can, every weekend. You got to have it because it's some new IPA. I mean, are you guys seeing that stuff?
Yeah, I mean, there's some breweries doing the big juice bombs, and there's always new stuff coming out. And every brewery, if it's not an IPA that's coming out all the time, because we're not like San Diego or something where it's IPA all the time.
Yeah.
Breweries, they all make 1 or 2 IPAs for the most part, but they're always trying to push different beers. If it's big barrel sours, kettle sours, IPAs, browns. I mean, it's winter now, so there's lots of imperial stouts coming out. There's always new stuff coming out all the time, and it's always... Yeah, what's a paycheck?
It's definitely. I mean, it's funny.
I kind of forget what money is like.
Yeah, you go on like
Yeah,
groups
what is
here.
what? It didn't go to beer. What did it go to before then? I don't even know.
I used to have savings.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I used
right.
to. Because you go the Facebook groups and people are just like posting gifs of like people opening money like wallets with like butterflies or moths coming out or just freaking like just take my money now from freaking
Or
Futurama.
Piss people off and call them GIFs.
Yeah, gifts. Oh, gifs and gifts.
That's how it's pronounced, though, right?
No.
No,
Only idiots.
No. So that's awesome. I mean, I guess that's the fun of traveling, right? I mean,
Yeah.
that's the fun of, if I were to go to Vancouver, I'd be pumped. You're the first person I'd hit up now. And
Please.
I'd want to know what's going on. And it's amazing for you to be able to come down here and and talk to us and figure out what's going on. Because we have our finger relatively on the pulse of, Arizona craft beer. And
We've been called important part of the craft beer community here.
yeah, I don't believe that, but honestly, it's just it's an exciting time to enjoy craft beer.
Yeah.
We were talking about other podcasts in our area and other podcasts where you guys bunny ears compete with, but it's so much going on. It's really fun just to be able to go other places like Vancouver or Arizona and just experience that. It just changes everywhere you go.
Yeah, everywhere has kind of their own feel.
Yeah.
The Pacific Northwest used to be like the big pine, like resiny bomb IPAs. It's changing a little bit now. When
Yeah.
I was here the first time, it felt like Arizona was, all their beers were kind of a little bit sweeter than I was used to.
Mm-hmm.
And everywhere has their own thing. Like now New England's going crazy with the big hazy stuff.
Yep.
And it's neat because everywhere has their own really cool scene, but everywhere else is different. And they're making great beer. It doesn't matter where the hell it is.
Absolutely. Man, tasting on the Strange Fellows. It's not crazy sour.
No, it's
tart.
it's funny. Like,
It's good.
So like
Damn, it's good.
The character on the back of this bottle that says round and tart with a dry finish is like spot on. Like that's a really good descriptor for this beer.
Heck yeah.
Because it is tart. It's not super sour. It's very tart. And the dry finish is definitely there.
This is what you can get from a foeder or a barrel sour, right? Kettle sours are always just punchy in the face with just the most crazy sour.
Yeah.
And they can be great, but you're never going to get a better sour than a barrel or a foeder. Just something that's sat there and aged and mellowed and
Yeah, that's good.
yeah, it's great.
I honestly, thank you so much, man, for bringing that bottle.
My pleasure.
Makes me feel like we didn't have enough special stuff for you, but like I said, we'll make sure we have each other's information so we
yes,
can
definitely.
send some stuff back
And
and
we
forth.
will to go package for you too. So
That's
all.
true.
So
That's
we're
true. But
Little-
no, that's anytime someone brings a sour, I'm just like, oh, thank you. We have a buddy, John Rowley, who's been helping us out. He owns Rowley Farmhouse in Santa Fe.
Yeah.
At Rowley Farmhouse Ales. Excuse me.
Yeah, there you
Don't
go.
screw it up,
Yeah,
man.
like look up to this dude. I'm gonna sit here and call his brewery the wrong name. But yeah,
His name's John, right?
yeah. his
Okay,
name-
good.
Yeah, thank God.
I got that one
It
right.
was Jim. It's Jim. No, in these sours, man. It's just all like for me personally. I think the art behind them. I think the work that goes into them is incredible. So
Well, it's funny. I think that's the
Big fan.
one thing that the Valley in Arizona, I should say, is that we're not super. We never got really deep into it at this point. There's nobody really that's
still
their,
ramping.
That's their focus is just farmhouse or like sour beers. Like,
I know.
Wilderness kind of does some,
Yeah.
and then Ren does some, and everybody kind of.
Wilderness has a full-on sour room now. They didn't have that before.
No.
I mean, so there's definitely people who are working their way towards
Yeah.
that.
Right, and I'm really excited that that's gonna. That seems like to be one of the trends too. Is that people are gonna start doing more traditional style sours, right? Actually, like you said, kettle sours are cool, and
Yeah.
I enjoy drinking
I'm
them.
going to be
but-
brewing a bunch of them. That's my goal. I hope to make some really good ones, but I also hope to be able to get a small cask someday and do what I want to do with doing some long-term souring.
Right. And I think it's people are touching on it and it's starting to kind of move that direction. So I'm really excited to see what really people are going to be doing with it. So
'Cause I know personally, I was drinking a lot of kettle sours for a long time and stomach wasn't so happy and I've kind of stepped back.
It
Whereas
is. They are tough on the tummy.
Yeah. I mean, if you don't have 100 Tums with you, don't be sitting there drinking kettle sours that often. Whereas these ones, they don't seem to bother me. You can just sit there and sip a barrel sour or a foeder sour and it's just amazing.
Yeah, and my wife gets them. My wife appreciates them. Not that all women don't appreciate whatever, but I like that I can crack open a bottle of this, and my wife's like, "That's damn good."
Yeah.
that's my wife doesn't like craft beer
Yeah.
per se. She likes some of the sweeter pastry stouts, but not
Yeah.
to the point where she'll ever drink one.
Yeah.
But sour, she definitely likes sours.
Yeah.
And so she'll actually drink a whole sour. So like I said, we're going to Portland. We're definitely going to Cascade.
Yeah.
And we're definitely Hair of the Dog's right there by it. So might as well hit it up too.
Short walk.
Yeah, short walk. So, but that's going to be.
She'll have her cell phone. She can be entertained.
She get some sours, it'll be fine. But I mean, that'll. It's funny. We went to Cascade last time. They actually had a side of like pickled vegetables.
Yeah.
and I was like, well,
Damn.
pickled vegetables and sour beer. I'm like,
I know.
Talk about Tums.
and that's
Yeah.
amazing. But it was incredible.
Oh, it was so
Yeah.
good.
Well,
It was
I
really
don't know
good.
what it is because I'm not a wine fan at all. But a lot of people that are into wine like sour beers.
Okay.
For whatever reason, it seems to
Yeah.
connect.
And my wife's a wine person.
Yeah.
So
It makes it. Yeah, maybe that's some
yeah,
So that could
things
be it.
that kind of line up with the same kind of
aged in barrels for long time. I don't know. Maybe there's a flavor there that they
Well, I mean, a lot of barrel aged sours are usually in white wine barrels. You don't
Right.
really taste it, but they're neutral enough.
But you get that oak a lot of times.
Yeah, well, you get
that,
tons of oak,
You get all that. So
but it's not like bourbon barrels.
it's true.
It's not
It's
like
true. Mike had a really big smile on his face when he said that. I like that. I like that.
It's like he knows us. It's so weird.
He's like, you don't like those. I know it. Yeah. So no, that's a damn good beer, and I like their logo and their bottles and their Strange Fellows. They're
that-
killing it.
That
Based off
beer,
where I'm sitting.
that deer, and that dog.
It could be a deer. Give me the bottle again.
I'm taking a picture of this and just you put it on social media. There's no way that's a deer.
It's like I said, it's a dog. It's a greyhound and a bunny. That's what I meant.
Yep, there you
That's
go.
what I would assume it is, actually.
It's a greyhound and a rabbit.
Greyhounds usually chase fake rabbits when
there
they
you go.
race, right?
Yeah,
I meant to say I don't know where a reindeer. We just got out of Christmas.
I mean, it makes sense. Yeah, I
We
guess so.
just got out of Christmas.
I'll agree with you for the sake of disagreeing with you.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate it. You don't commonly do that, so much
Nice.
appreciated. All right, we're back. We went and we took the opportunity for a break to grab another beer from Strange Fellows again, but this time from their bottle group, I guess.
Yeah, it's called the Fellowship Club.
Let's just stop right there. I mean, to have a bottle club and then to call it the Fellowship, that's pretty cool.
Oh, Strange Fellows. You're going to have a fellowship, right?
I just think of Lord of the Rings and it makes me makes me nerd out big time.
I mean, I kind of like it too because you pay, I forgot what the exact, I think it's about $150, and it guarantees you 2 bottles of 4 releases. They're all wild ales for the most part.
Oh, that's cool.
Instead of there's a lot of bottle clubs you buy in for the chance to buy bottles.
Right.
Whereas this one, you're guaranteed your 8 bottles.
Okay.
And then you can buy more.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. So the only way that non-fellowship members can even buy these beers is in the tasting room, bottle in the, drink it in the tasting room.
Gotcha. On-site consumption only. So,
and it's not released right away to the public either.
Nice.
Gotcha.
So that means that your membership actually pays for the bottles though?
It does.
That is perfect.
And it also gives you a small discount for growler fills.
There you go.
There's a lot of shitty laws about discounted beer in Canada. There is minimum prices per ounce, so you can't mess around too much with that. But they give a slight discount.
Okay, and that's something we want to talk about too. Is it's very interesting to hear the different laws, and the states are it's odd because you can go from state to state and it's different things, and there's a law in Texas where if you became a certain size brewery, you couldn't actually distribute right to the public, so you had to send it to a distributor, and then they'll send it back to your brewery, and then you can actually serve it on tap. It's stuff like that's really, really odd. So it's really fun to hear. I mean, and I'm sure living there is not great fun, but hearing about these things is actually pretty interesting. So what do you guys have that's kind of like that, or is weird that you have to get around, or people have to get around?
I don't think there's a lot of rules about a size of brewery or whatever distributing themselves. I don't know if Molson Coors can distribute themselves, but actually they do, because there's a company called BDL that does Molson Coors and Labatt, which is AB InBev, that distribute themselves. Any brewery can distribute their own beer. You can buy into a distributor if you want, and a lot of breweries do. But it's not the same as the States. It's not the 3-tier system. Yeah. You don't have to be with the distributor. You can go as far as you want. They can go to the farthest reaches of the province if they wanted to, even though there's not a lot of people up there. So I would find it interesting because down here there's a lot of hate for companies that have been bought out.
Yeah.
There are some people that get really bitter about it in Canada too, but not as bad because there is none of that pushing people off the shelf.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, yes, they might get more beers on a shelf because they've been bought out by them, but they're not pushing people out. I mean, most people pushed out at other craft breweries because they like this one better. The preferential treatment is not as bad as here. Which I can totally see down here.
Right. There's a lot of that down here. So, but as far as prohibition, leftover kind of laws, is there anything kind of laws that are...
You had mentioned the prohibition stuff as some kind of somewhat leftover as far as,
No growler fills in gas stations.
Right. Stuff like that.
No growler fills anywhere but at the brewery. There's private liquor stores and there's government liquor stores, but there is no liquor sold at any other place other than wine at grocery stores now.
That's crazy.
Things are changing slowly. We've got laws that are way more liberal than yours and vice versa, right?
Right.
It's always changing. It's always in flux.
If you could take a book and I'll take that one. I'll take that one. Yeah. I'm sure you could come up with a nice mix.
And don't forget that just like in the States and Canada, every province or territory has different rules.
Okay.
Right.
And I wish that every country would just have one friggin' liquor board, same friggin' rules. I mean, in Quebec, on the East Coast, there is very high taxes, more than anywhere else in the country. So people will leave the province and buy their alcohol there and come back. Someone recently, I guess about a year or two ago, got busted for doing this because it was way cheaper. And now there's a big lawsuit going on trying to change the liquor laws across Canada to get rid of these stupid rules. It used to be illegal to bring wine across the Alberta-BC border because the tax laws were so different that it was way cheaper to drive to Alberta and then come back to BC with the wine.
Wow.
That's funny.
Yeah.
That's crazy. It's just interesting to hear that kind of stuff for different areas. Real quick, we did get going real fast. I do want to talk about this.
Sorry.
I don't think we named the beer itself.
This is
the third release from this year's fellowship.
Man, the Creek. And it's the Lambic style ale with BC cherries. Let's see here. With a lovely cherry aroma, flavor. The sour is bright. Lambic style ale is the third limited release of our 2017 fellowship.
There we go.
Beautiful.
604 2. No, I'm sure. Yeah, the Creek. And wow.
What's on the front of the label? Is it not a reindeer, right?
There's an orange on it. No, I'm just joking. It's an apple. Just joking.
Nice big cherries.
Nice big cherry. Honestly, in the color of this, oh my gosh,
it's funny,
cherry. I mean, it's just look.
Sit in this glass, nice in the glass when you poured it for me. It's still, you can see it. It's just bubbling a little bit. It's still got a little.
There's
champagne.
That sour.
The head's gone away, but the thing is still bubbling like mad. Yeah, it's lively.
There's that sour though.
I like that, though.
nice that sour. That was a little more sour than the other one.
Did we read the? Oh, this one actually doesn't have the
not any
little
tasting
bit.
notes?
Doesn't have the little like separated like the other one
No.
does where broke it down, but cherry aroma and flavor.
Yeah, the Fellowship bottles don't go into as much detail because they're one-offs.
Okay.
This year, Little Red, I think it was Little Red one, there was a new release of it from the original Fellowship. This is only the second year of the Fellowship,
That smells amazing.
but they changed up the recipe for that one. So every year it'll be different beers, always changing.
Okay.
Yeah.
God, I'm sorry. I didn't know it in mine yet. So,
But yeah, it's got a beautiful kind of pinky red color.
Yeah, exactly.
it is.
The pink, that pinkish red. It looks so good.
yeah, that looks awesome. I haven't actually tried any yet.
It's
Nate,
good.
Is it really good?
Yeah, it's good. I'm not gonna lie. You're gonna like it.
It's one of the best sour producers in the province right
Really?
now. Yeah.
Oh, man. I'm
Yeah,
not
that is-
surprised. Creek.
That is really good.
Yeah.
Creek Lambic style ale.
You know, Ian Hill's a master.
That is really,
I mean,
really good.
they only
That's tasty.
do
I like that.
one single hop IPA and a black IPA, and that's it for IPAs. Everything else is usually farmhouse. They do a half
read
or
it.
something.
I read their beer board. It's called Cyclops or
Cycle hops, yeah.
Cycle hops. Yeah.
Because it's always cycling.
Ah, okay. Cycle hops.
Because he's not even a huge IPA guy,
It's good.
which makes sense, right? Like he's big into the Belgian beers.
You know, just like with the brewery, hoppy obligations. People want their IPAs,
Yeah.
They created a whole
And we're here-
offshoot company.
and we're here. They're there to make them.
Yeah.
Strange Fellow wants to sell beer. So
Yeah, it is still bubbling in the glass
Yeah.
after drinking
it's
it.
a
That's
great
crazy.
beer.
No, and they do a great job. And I mean, this is totally worth joining a club for, right?
100%. Like, if you're guaranteed 2 bottles of this,
Yeah. It's,
And-
and
price.
then 3 more variation. Like,
How much did we
All right,
pay?
so-
I think it was. How much was the rent house? The rent house bottle club was 150 or 160, and that included no bottles.
Yeah.
Right.
This is 150 Canadian, so 80 cents to the dollar. It's even cheaper for you guys. And you're guaranteed 2 bottles from every release. And then extra bottles, I think they might be $18 a bottle.
Okay.
Canadian.
To be fair to Ren, that money goes into the bottling,
yeah.
to the barrel age program. It's a little different for everybody else.
that's actually not a bad price, and I would totally pay it.
Oh yeah.
But I like it even better.
Oh yeah. I
when
know.
it includes.
Why wouldn't you be happy if it comes a couple beers?
Hell yeah.
Well, I also think that it's part of, like, they've been told. So it's a very kind of gray, like, so Tombstone.
That's true. They've been told they can't actually give bottles away.
Right. And that was, they said they can't
Yeah.
give bottles away as part of a membership club.
But Tombstone
But
and
Tombstone can.
yeah.
Well, the
So it
difference
could
here
be.
is that the membership is paying for the beer, and then there's some free stuff with it.
Right. I think it's
Right.
more of like
It's
this,
all that wording.
how you word it, right? I think that could be what it is.
You
too,
also
for
get
them.
like this year you got a T-shirt as well, and I think you got a nice stemware glass with it, and even a patch. If you're someone who has like one of those old
Yeah.
jean jackets, you can
That's
sew
cool.
it on.
That's cool.
So there's a couple little extra things, but for the most part, you're paying for the beer.
Okay.
All right.
The rent house, I think it's nice is that they give you a little wooden card. It's actually wood.
I
and
know.
It actually has your name on it.
That's
and the
awesome.
number.
Yeah, the Saguaro Society, the party this year is on my birthday.
Oh,
Yeah.
happy birthday to you.
It will be a nice birthday.
We actually joined Helton's. Helton actually has a
Yes.
2144 club,
Nice.
which same kind of thing. Nothing, you don't get anything from it, but you actually get we got 2 free Teku glasses. We got some wooden coasters. We got, actually it's
Sorry for that sound. I keep making it. I've noticed it several times now since we went over editing. I was gonna say they give us a little coin, the little what's a challenge coin almost
challenge.
kind.
It's a challenge coin. It's a bottle
Nice.
opener challenge
Yep.
coin.
They
Has your number on it.
they haven't done many can releases lately, but that's the big bonus with the can releases for our groups is our public can releases
Yeah.
are involved. So
Well, I mean, only the first year got it, but I got a membership card too.
there you go.
Now they've
Perfect.
decided not to bother with it. You just check in with your name and email address
Right.
now because it was just too much work.
Well, it seems
Yeah.
easier almost that way, right? Just have a little book and be like,
Oh,
these
yeah.
are the people.
I want
Yeah.
my member card
Right.
from Ren. I think
That's-
they're wood.
They are wood.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, I wish
like-
that was happening.
I'm excited about it.
It's like burned wood, I thought, right? It's really cool
It's gonna
looking.
be cool.
I'm jealous almost I can get one.
I kind of like those exclusive things. I mean, because
There
I
it
was
is, Mike. That's honestly it. I just love limited stuff.
well, I mean, I was Bridge Brewing Company, which is in North Vancouver, which is across the inlet from Vancouver, across a bridge. For their regulars, they made these special edition glass growlers years ago, and because I was always there with my blog as well, I was reviewing all their new beers. They made sure they got a growler fill of every beer. I was the first growler fill of every beer they had for the first couple of years.
Wow.
So they made me a plaque and then gave me the regulars growler, which is gold plated paint with their
wow.
symbol on it. I love
That's
that kind of
cool.
weird shit.
Oh, hell
Like
yeah,
I got rid
man.
of almost all my glass growlers, but I still have that one because it is so epic.
If I ever owned a brewery, that'd be the stuff I couldn't wait to do. Was just to just do it for my regulars, do it for people who kept coming in, patrons, all that stuff. Hell yeah.
Always talk, like, always make something special for your regulars.
Well, I think that's a huge thing too. Is your beer's got to be good no matter what.
Yeah.
right?
Oh yeah. No, that's the main thing.
But the hype around what you do is huge. I mean, it really can make your business, right, or break it. Because
it's all about how you run that business and how you take care of your customers.
Definitely.
Big time.
that just hyping up the stuff that's coming out, or for somebody to be like, hey, I got this exclusive whatever. That's, like I said, that's the kind of stuff that people like us eat up. And so it's just going to make people want to come to your place more, trade for your beers more, do whatever. So
Yeah.
it's awesome.
No, it's very exciting, and it's cool to be a part of that stuff. It's if you can get in on the ground floor of those kind of groups, it's always exciting to be
Definitely.
a part of it. That kind of leads me to my next question, Mike. I'm traveling to Vancouver. Where do I need to go?
Because it's 1,000 degrees in here in the summer. We need to get the hell out of the valley.
And it needs to, and honestly, and it's nice to get a person who's been there's opinion and who've been around and seen all the. Yes, it's cool to go to certain breweries, but these are the breweries you really need to go to.
Well, I'll start with that, and then I'll move on to something else. For the breweries you have to hit, Strange Fellows by far is one of them.
I agree so far, by the way.
Yeah, spot on. Yes.
Done.
Storm Brewing that I was mentioning I think in the last episode, James is a mad scientist. He's got, he's got his core beers, but that's not what you go there for. Like, he's got his Black Plague Stout and a bunch of other stuff, but you go there for his brainstorms. They brew their beer and then they add stuff, tinctures and all kinds of weird shit. Like, they have a really good Imperial Stout, but then he does a vanilla whiskey version of it.
Wow.
Growler fills only. Other than that, you can get at a couple bars in Vancouver and a couple in the province. All weird shit, always changing. You have to go there, and it is the weirdest place.
Name of that brewery again?
Storm Brewing.
Storm Brewing. Okay.
I mean, the first time I met James, he's in his 40s, I think. Leather pants, mesh shirt, platform boots. Like, he is oddball. He is great.
Nice.
Like, total mad scientist, right?
Funny.
He's like the Willy Wonka of the craft beer.
Yes, 100%. That is a great way to put it. If you want to slide out of Vancouver, go down to Delta. Four Winds Brewing is doing a lot of these really good wild ales, kind of crazy stuff. Their beer is being traded really highly in Oregon and stuff right now. People love their beer, which is kind of neat to see. Like, as soon as that border hits, right, people don't know our beers as much, and they know Four Winds down there, which is really cool.
Yeah, that's neat.
If you head over to Port Moody, which is another one of the suburbs of Vancouver, Twin Sails, which we're gonna actually have a beer from them pretty soon.
Perfect.
They started out as a German-inspired brewery, and they were really well made, but they weren't that popular. And then they hired a new guy. They started getting into these Northeast juice bombs, and it exploded. And now they decided in the winter they're going to start doing sort of the pastry stouts, and they're killing those too now. So you have to go there if you're coming up. I mean, there's lots of breweries I can name, but I'm just going to name a couple, really.
So for bottle shops, I mean, you said you want to get another area as well.
Bottle shops is great. If you're in the city of Vancouver, Legacy Liquor Store, which is in the Olympic Village where all the athletes live for the Winter Olympics in Vancouver. And Brewery Creek, which is on Main Street, which is one of the hubs of kind of hipster living. There's some breweries on Main Street, all kinds of great restaurants, lots of good craft beer. They got a great bottle selection too. And there's lots of good bottle shops elsewhere. Central City Brewing, which is Red Racer or Red Betty in the States, if you ever heard of them.
Okay.
Racer 5 sued them, so they had to get rid of Red Racer. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
I love Racer
Bear
5.
Republic, sorry.
Yeah.
Racer 5.
It's delicious.
It is, yes. But they had to change their name down here to Red Betty because of that.
Gotcha.
But they're in a town called Surrey, and they have a great brewery there with a bottle shop. And then they have their old brew pub where they used to brew. It has a great bottle shop and a restaurant there. And they've expanded out to a new tap room with, I think it's 40 or 50 taps in the city of Vancouver as well. Wow. They've really exploded. They're one of the largest in Vancouver now.
Wow. Nice. Recommended then, for sure.
And I mean, they're not keeping up with the trends, but they're one of those ones that you've got to go. They're one of the original, like, pushers of the scene.
Oh, there you go.
If it wasn't for Central City, there wouldn't be the scene we had today.
Right.
Same with Parallel 49, which last time I was in Arizona, I found a bottle of their beer in one of the bottle shops here. So it can be found here sometimes.
Okay.
That's cool.
They started out with this kind of nondescript tasting room, and now they have a tap room. I think it's 40 or 50 taps in their brewery. They have a food cart inside the tap room as their kitchen. It's turned into a really funky place, cool patio. It's just too busy half the time.
Right. Yeah.
They actually just had a barley wine festival with a bunch of breweries from all over the Pacific Northwest. They had some from elsewhere. I missed it, and I was so mad because I was out of the area.
Don't you hate that?
Barley wine's life, right?
It is life.
I just wanted to mention one thing from our last episode. Mike was trying to, illustrate to us where the Vancouver Olympics were, and I immediately mentioned Cool Runnings. So just wanted, for all his listeners now that know that I'm really dumb, I just want to make sure that all our listeners know that I'm really dumb.
You still hit up a Canadian Olympics, just the wrong Canadian Olympics.
Yeah.
So, it's
Cool Runnings, right, Mike? No.
And I love that movie.
Yeah, thank you, Mike. Thank you.
Mike's being real nice.
Yeah.
Our listeners already know that you're dumb, Nate. They don't need to be reminded.
That's true.
Just saying.
They already know that I'm not all there anyway.
Yeah, they're.
If you want to learn about,
They already know that.
yeah, if you want to learn about breweries though in Canada, the province of BC got together with a couple other groups and started up the BC Ale Trail. It's the bcaletrail.ca, and they have trails all over the province.
That's cool.
I think the one in Vancouver has started. They wanted the breweries to kind of partner up and kind of help fund this new initiative.
Okay.
But you know what? Breweries are small. They don't have a lot of money. And they wanted the different tourist organizations in the areas to help as well. Everyone to work together to build this new thing to bring tourists in.
Yeah.
So, there's a couple ale trails on Vancouver Island, which is where the capital is. It's a big island. There's lots of new breweries there, and some of the original breweries are there. We've got ones out in the Okanagan, which is wine country. There's one that's in the north that is a cool trail, but some trails you can get off in Vancouver off the airport and take SkyTrain right to them. Some you have to rent a car and you have to drive for hundreds of kilometers, hundreds of miles, which it's not as you say it's boring to go on a long drive to California here or something because it's just flat desert or whatever.
Nothing.
When you get into BC, a lot of them, it's just these beautiful mountain vistas. You get through the Coast Mountains, you get into the Rocky Mountains, and it's just gorgeous. So you just want to keep driving, right? And like one of my favorite, there's two trails on the BC Ale Trail in the Kootenays, which is 8 to 10 hour drive from Vancouver. Once you get there, though, there's almost as many hot springs as there are breweries.
Wow.
And these cool little towns, when Vancouver is really expensive, I love living there, but it's hard to get ahead. You go out in the Kootenays, there may not be a lot of jobs, but you find a way to live. You find a way to have a really good life. You got one or two local breweries, and you're just killing it, right?
Making
Yeah.
life.
Sounds good. You sold me. I want that life now.
Yeah.
I'm ready to go down to the Kootenays. Get me there.
You might not like it that much because in the winter they do get a shit ton of snow.
All right. Yeah, I'm done. All right. Never mind.
It's not as cold as back east.
Fuck the Kootenays.
Cold there is, it'll be
Like really cold?
No, like say,
okay.
The Fahrenheit thing, like say 10 degrees under freezing.
Yeah.
Something like that. Like we're not talking
That's
like
sufficiently cold, though.
we're not talking back east like minus 40s and stupid
Yeah, but
shit that
back
doesn't make
east,
sense.
I've only had negative 40 in my life like one time.
So-
negative.
But it's happening right now.
Yeah, that's true.
You
That's
know.
true.
So
Yeah.
the problem with that, the temperatures back east has always been like, if this is what the temperature is, but with wind chill, it's negative 20. And you're like,
It's always the wind chill that gets you.
Oh yeah. Well, and a lot of that is wind chill anyways.
and then you're like, well, that's negative 20, motherfucker. It's not 10 degrees. It's negative 20.
Well, I know that
Whatever the wind
literally
chill
what it
is, that's what it is.
Yeah.
I was driving to the Okanagan region, which is the wine country I was talking about, and there's a town called Merritt. So I'm driving out of Vancouver. You drive for hours, stop for gas, get out of my vehicle. I'm like, holy fuck, it's a blast furnace. It was the opposite. It was not wind chill. It was wind burn almost. It went from probably close to 100 degrees Fahrenheit, and then fucking just huge wind. It felt like you were in a furnace.
Mike, now you're speaking your language because it's a dry heat here. That's what everybody says.
Yeah.
It's a dry heat.
You
so-
want to live in an oven, you just come live here.
No, and
how it works.
and Merritt up through the Thompson Valley it is the closest to desert you get in Canada.
Yeah.
And it's not where I want to be in the summer.
All right, so
You'd hate to hear that.
what I want to do is
It's great in the winter here.
Right.
You're wearing a shirt that we want to talk about a brewery when we get. But first, actually, we should take a break real quick. So we
take a
can
quick
get
break.
another beer and then
Definitely.
Yeah, do this thing. Welcome back, guys. Back again.
wow. feel like this
Shady's
is Backstreet. This is
I know.
a
Was I
Backstreet Boy or-
supposed to start
Hey,
saying
I hate
something?
Eminem, but Shady's back is better.
I was gonna
think.
say, yeah, it's more like an Eminem song. So yeah, we're back. We're back with another beer, more stories. What do we got there, Chris?
This one's from Twin Sales Brewing.
Why are you asking me?
Let me.
Because
Ask our
you
guest.
can
Just
read
ask-
the shit.
That's our guest. He's the one that brought the beer.
Yes, this
Mike,
is
Mike,
called.
could you please read that?
You can eat that.
I'm much more polite.
It's
Than
an Imperial Black Forest cake stout.
Ooh, cake stout. Sorry, Jeff.
Yes. This is the brewery that was making all kinds of crazy juice bombs. It's probably one of the most respected like Northeast IPA breweries in Western Canada right now.
Very neat.
But they decided for the winter when it, actually gets cold a little bit, almost close to freezing, to start making sort of the
Good timing.
pastry stouts
Yeah.
and the imperial stouts. So why don't you crack
Makes sense.
that?
Makes sense. Oh yeah, I'll crack it open. Hold on.
Still
I'm
drinking this.
awful at pouring, but
Still drinking this Pueblo
Yeah.
beer.
yeah, the Pueblo Vita is really good. There's some more in that can if you want.
I finished mine off pretty quick.
Damn good.
Ooh, so before you left for the break, you were wearing a shirt
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
of a brewery that we want to talk about because your last episode, you actually that I listened to.
And I don't know anything about this, so you'll be teaching me from the beginning. But Boundary Brewing Company.
Boundary Brewing Company is from Kelowna, which is the wine region in BC.
Okay.
They're a small little nano brewery, and they're kind of neat.
The
What kind
wine,
of
the wine region. Does that mean beat the?
There's a shit ton of wineries there. It's semi-desert, so semi-arid. Lots of vineyards, lots of wineries. It's one of the biggest wine regions in
I
Canada.
just imagine stuck-up people, but I guess that's wrong. That's
It's
the wrong
changing
thing
with the
to do.
beer scene really exploding right now there too.
That's good. I love wine, but even we deal with it down here. Even
Yeah.
there's still people who look at people who drink. If you're heavy into wine, not necessarily a positive spin on the beer scene down here. But yeah, sorry, continue.
No worries. Before I get into what that episode was about, one of the things I like about that brewery is they've taken a bit of a chance. After starting with a sort of hand-built system, they've gone to a system where they've built a brew house out of barrels. They're actually, what are they called? The big barrels, they're called. There's a special name for them. He brews in those now. So everything is brewed in oak.
Wow.
It's actually let's just say it's a wood fired brewery, which is
Yes.
crazy to me to think because a lot of times they're was it not skinned but classed in friggin'
Yeah.
wood.
Cladded, yeah.
Cladded, yeah. But it's this is not what that is, right?
Yeah.
It's actually literally a wood,
That's crazy.
yeah, like boil kettle and stuff. You're like that seems really
But
weird to me.
The brewery, the owner, Oliver, is a German heritage. His family all comes from Germany. He does German style beers, but his assistant brewer, his other brewer, is from the U.S. I forget where he was from, but I forget how many months ago it was. There was that young woman that was run over by the Nazis down here in the States,
Right.
and killed.
Tennessee.
And he was distraught and he didn't know what to do. But Oliver's ex-wife grew up in Germany. Is one of those punks that was beating up Nazis back in the day in the 80s. And one of her friends gave her an Antifa flag, the anti-fascist flag. He hung it on the wall. Just we're against fascism, like we're against Nazis. Love everyone, right?
Right.
And it was up there for about a month. And then a guy from a little town called Vernon in the Okanagan came by, who was part of a splinter group that was one of those fascist, what are they called?
3%ers kind of.
Not even the 3%ers, but they're one of those little militia groups from the States.
Okay.
Gotcha.
It was a group, I think they were out of Tennessee or Texas or something. And he came in and just started causing venom. Like, you're supporting this terrorist group, blah, 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 blah. And it's just this, they're not a terrorist group. They want to stop fascist thought. And the only way to fight some
That's
people
silly.
is to fight.
Yeah.
Right. Unfortunately, that's just the only way. So he put this flag up and it causes backlash with this guy. And he didn't think anything of it. But then within a couple days, he was getting a digital attack from a bunch of people from the southern U.S., mostly Texas, Tennessee, blah, blah, blah. And hundreds and thousands of negative reviews, 1-star reviews on Google, on all the Facebook. Nothing was about the beer.
Yeah. Oh,
It was
sure.
just calling him a terrorist and everything.
Yeah, I'm sure. Yeah.
And
sorry.
it was crazy. So he reached out to the beer scene in Western Canada, and we started supporting him. He had to shut down his Facebook for a while, and we're all rallied together. And because of this, another brewery close by in called Crenog Ales, who does mostly kind of Irish style beers, they've been hanging the same flag for like 6 months. They said, "We support you, brother. Like, screw them." And then they had the same attack to them. So as a joke, Oliver kind of contacted them and said, well, how about we make a beer together?
That's so
Yeah.
awesome.
Sounds like
Right.
a great idea. So they did. And they're like, what should we call it? Why not for Nazis, not brown ale?
Nice. There you go.
Perfect.
And I can't wait to try it. It's coming out. It comes out this week. So I'm going to try it as soon as I get home. So by the time this comes out, it'll be out.
That's
And
awesome.
it's got a great label that's got like the swastika with the line through it. And it's got a feel that looks kind of like those old punk jackets where it's got all like the
Right.
patches on it. Like,
Yeah.
you know,
That's so
fuck Nazis, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah, all those labels were badass. I mean,
Yeah.
hey, if you're gonna have owning a brewery, sometimes you want to have an opinion.
Yeah.
And you know what? You can make it with your beer, or you can make it with your label. I mean, whatever you want to do.
It can be a dangerous thing to do. You can do stupid shit that fuck up your brewery really badly.
Right.
Whereas for him, he owned this. And I don't know if it would work down here, but in Canada, everyone said, fuck you.
Right.
He had Okanagan region is summer. It's a summer destination. It's the wine country. People come there in the summer. They go to the lake. Okanagan Lake is a huge boater paradise.
Gotcha.
November was one of his best months he's had.
That's awesome.
Because everyone would coming from Vancouver, coming from elsewhere in the province going, I want your beer. I want to support this. Screw fascists.
Right.
You know?
Well, it's funny is like no matter what your political views are, is like really what comes down to is what they're trying to say is that you don't really love people.
Yeah.
Just be cool. Just drink beer and have fun.
Yeah.
Like it's really what it comes down to, right? And so no matter what you believe, that's the message that they're trying to say.
Yeah, exactly.
And really, like, if there's gonna be a person I want to punch in the face, it's gonna be a Nazi.
Yeah.
I tell you what, right now, I'm not a violent person.
Neither am I.
But I will punch a Nazi in the face.
I'm only violent when it comes to hockey.
Right. In hockey, it's totally fine.
It's a religion in Canada.
Exactly.
It's the only religion I like.
But it's just one of those things
Serious.
where it makes, like really people that had that, and I think a lot of people that maybe have said stuff didn't really understand. They just saw what other people have said because they're like, when I saw that, it was like, well, that's a organization. Like the whole thing is like, oh, they're violent too. But it's at the same time, it's like, yeah, but they're being violent, like you said, for a reason. They're not
Yeah.
being violent just to be violent.
I mean,
right?
when it comes down to it, a university wants to bring in some speaker that is spouting hate.
Right.
The only way to stop people from allowing these assholes to come in and cause trouble is to make it too expensive for them to come back.
Yep.
Because there's too much hate in this world already. We don't need the hate. I mean, we need, when it comes down to it, every single person on this continent came from somewhere else.
Oh yeah.
100%.
We're all immigrants.
Yep.
And we've got to support these people, right?
Fake news. That's fake news.
Yeah,
I
fake
don't know
news.
what you're talking about. It's fake news.
So I mean, you hate all these people, but there's no reason to hate them. They're just different ideals, whatever. I mean, we're all the same friggin' people.
I like to think that I like to think that they're still severely outnumbered, but the amount of people who will scream negativity versus what they will scream versus positive will always greatly outnumber anyone. Because
yeah.
because hatred is very powerful.
Well, how many times will you see a negative, like a positive review of something? Yeah, this is great. And then you see a negative, God damn, this is terrible, blah, 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 screaming, right? Because the negative people are always going to cause more trouble.
It's easier to be negative about something.
Oh, definitely
It's
it
100%
is.
easier,
It's
right?
always easy to be negative and tear something down than it is to be constructive and come up with a reason for disliking.
Yeah, and I
something.
mean, even
it's
the
much
nicest,
easier to be just hateful about it.
Yeah, the nicest, most open-minded person will still have their prejudices that you have to fight to not have.
Right.
But it's all about trying to not have those, right?
so there's-
being open-minded and getting to know someone for who they are and not because they're this or that. And if they're an asshole, they're an asshole.
Right, and that's always my biggest thing is right. I hate everybody equally.
Yes, so
right?
do I, very much so.
You can. I don't care what color, religion, or whatever you are. If you're an asshole, you're an asshole. It doesn't make a difference to me. I don't care. It doesn't make a difference.
I'm
Chris
not,
isn't very nice to me.
That's 100% true.
I understand. No, I'm just kidding.
So
I'm not
You've
religious.
met me, you get it.
Yeah, I'm not religious, but I support all religion.
yeah,
Because if you want to have your religion, they should have theirs.
right. That's how it should be.
Yeah.
So
As
it's
long as
funny.
I can not have mine.
One of the brewers here I follow on Facebook, he actually posted something on Facebook, and I try to stay off Facebook as much as possible. There's just so much stuff going on there. But one of the things that he actually posted was, we've been taught our whole life to not talk about politics and not talk about religion. But,
Screw it.
But we should be taught. What we should do is we should have we should have been taught how to have a civil conversation where somebody has a different opinion than you.
Yeah.
That's really what it comes down to, right?
Most people have quite a hard time with the negativity, or excuse me, with being disagreed with.
Yeah.
Well, and being civil, right? Like, hey, you don't have to agree with what I agree with. And I can understand that.
That's cool. You don't agree. Have a great day.
Right. That's totally fine. Let's not.
Impossible.
I don't hate you because of it. I understand that you have a different point of view, and I have a different point of view. We all should get to that point. Really, is what it should come
I don't
down to.
know about here, but it seems like it was almost the death of the neighborhood pub that seems to have ruined this getting together, sitting down, and talking about politics, religion,
Right.
whatever it is. And as these places shut down and it were all turned into chain things and this, that's where it seemed like things fell apart. We used to all sit down and talk about things.
Right.
And, you know, you disagree, you talk, you shake your hands.
But I think that's what it is. It's people have this avoidance to having disagreements. People want to like stay with people that have the same mentality or ideology as themselves, and it makes it comfortable and familiar, right? And so they stay with that. So when somebody has a different point of view, it becomes instantly just the most venomous conversation you can possibly have with somebody. But if you had those conversations on a regular basis, it wouldn't be that big of a deal.
Yeah.
Right? It would just be like, well, it was a conversation I had, whatever.
And you know what? People would probably lose a lot of their hate.
Right.
If they just talk to people.
It's true.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And, you know, and just to bring that full circle, you know, Boundary Brewing, they're obviously going to try and do something very cool.
Oh,
and that's neat for them to really try and shine the light and say, we're going to change our labels. And if you have a hard time with it, that's cool because we don't really give a shit.
Well, yeah.
It is don't drink the beer. Just don't drink it.
He the hashtag is what? The
There's
Nazi.
two. Nazis, was it fascists stay thirsty and hashtag fuck Nazis?
Fuck Nazis.
There you
And
go.
Perfect.
the thing that caused
it's
the
great.
whole outrage was the anti-fascist flag. So what did he do?
Put it on every single
Fuck
label.
you. Every label has a tiny little anti-fascist label.
Yeah, good for him. Honestly, people need to give the middle finger a little bit more, in my opinion. And excuse me, the people that don't do it.
Yeah.
Not the people who do it for the fun of it. The people who are just sitting back and waiting for the common sense to take over.
Common sense is dead.
Yeah,
So we need to fight stupidity.
You need to fight it back a little bit. And I'm glad Boundary's part of that. So that's
Yeah.
very cool.
And I mean, it's sad that there's such a small brewery because it's going to be hard for anyone to try the beer outside of the Okanagan. I'm going to try it because he's going to make sure that I get a bottle. But it's one of those things that people are going to have to drive 3-4 hours in winter conditions to try this beer.
Good.
But they're going to.
That's part of the fun, though, man. Honestly, I mean, if tomorrow Tombstone had something we had to try, I'm sure we'd make that trek I'd have a great time doing it. So it is what it is.
You know,
Dry, warm roads are a little safer than gnarly
I wasn't
winter
trying
roads.
to say it was going to be easier, mate.
but no, that's. I love that. I think that they're doing a great job.
Yeah,
That's
it's a great
amazing.
attitude.
You know, I will definitely link the articles. I think you have you have articles on your site about it as
I
well.
don't have any articles yet. I'm going to have an article about the beer on my blog, mikescraftbeer.com. But there is the podcast to listen to that really spells it out.
Yeah, it's so good. It's awesome to listen to the owner just kind of like, you know, go from a point of where he felt like he was being attacked to and had to defend himself to a point where he just started owning it. It was so cool to hear that whole conversation. So.
One of the things I like the best about Oliver too is that he owns it. His family's in Germany. His family fought on the wrong side.
Right.
And their family supports everyone. Fuck fascism. Live for the moment. Support everyone. If it's people escaping war-torn countries, bring them all in. Support them because they're just people.
Right.
They just need help.
He brought up a great point too, is that, you know, a lot of these people that were like giving 1-star reviews were saying stuff like, I'm going to burn down your brewery and like stuff like that. And it's like, he literally has his kids at his brewery.
Because he's a single father.
He's a single father.
He's divorced. And when he's got his kids, he's working. So they're up in the top of the brewery.
So like, you know, us being, you know, dads at this point,
Right.
like that instantly like resonated. It was like, dude, that's attack. You're basically, I'm going to kill your kids. That's literally what you're saying to me right now. And
then you're
Like,
doing
this is my
that-
home. Well,
Right.
you're going to burn down my home.
And then you're also attacking a guy who's a boxer and a rugby player.
Yeah,
right.
exactly.
Come on.
Doesn't do well.
No, he's a fighter. So
Yeah, he is. Yes.
Well,
super awesome.
That's awesome.
Why don't we
links-
talk about this beer?
I was
quickly?
just about to, and we were all working on that transition right there. Let's get
I'll
off the
remind
heavy and a little bit
everyone-
lighter
let's
there.
Remind people what the beer is quickly.
Twin Sails.
And it's the, I don't remember.
I'm handing it. I'm handing it.
You got to eat that. The Imperial Black Forest cake.
You got to
stout.
eat that. This is funky. This is weird for me.
Really? So is it the? I know we kind of skipped right over it. It's funny, like, so this is gonna be sounding weird to me.
I mean, I can't put my finger on the
So
word tasting.
the aroma to me, I'm sorry, it doesn't smell. It doesn't smell cherry or anything like that. It kind of smells like pea soup a little bit.
Really? I don't get that at all.
It's so weird.
Pea soup.
I do get cherry and chocolate. And
That's what I'm getting. I'm getting a ton of cherry.
yeah.
I am getting a ton of cherry.
You know what, though? You
That's
say pea
weird.
soup. That's weird, but
Cherry and
You
chocolate.
smell it. It just
maybe
it,
a bit.
kind of.
yeah.
Ooh, there's lactose in this.
Oh, yeah, God, yeah.
Lactose. There's lactose in this.
That's the other version.
You're milk toast right now.
Like a chocolate milk cherry wrap, like a chocolate cherry milkshake.
Yeah.
It's funny. I don't get a ton. I mean, maybe because my palate's wrecked out with all these IPAs, but I don't get a ton of cherry. It's not, good though. It's really good. I mean,
it's chocolatey. It's creamy. There is cherry there, but it's kind of like a Black Forest cake, right?
Right.
It's mostly chocolate and then with some cherry hit, right?
Yes.
There's a lot of cherry and chocolate in there, man.
Really?
But
That's
yeah,
interesting.
some
It's
cherry.
very interesting.
Cherries.
Maybe you should get some water. I don't know.
Yeah, man. I should put some
a ton of
palate
cherry in
cleansers.
there.
What do you think?
This is not my kind of brew, and I still think it's a very intriguing beer. It's good, honestly.
I was a little bummed out they didn't have more really interesting juice bombs because this is one of their tasting room only releases.
Cherry like crazy though,
Yeah.
dude. Big time.
Really?
But it's not
Just get the
not
littlest
off-putting.
sip.
It's not like an unnatural flavor.
Yeah. Oh yeah. No. To get the littlest sip and pull that cocoa nib out of the flavor.
I mean, I get some maraschino cherries in the fridge. I can
Yeah.
pull it out. And you can
Dip
try
it in there, you know?
You try it.
Perfect.
Difference.
yeah.
Use that for the Berliner Weiss. A little bit of cherry juice would be great. This, I mean, don't get me wrong. I like this beer. This is actually really good. Definitely cherries from me on the backseat, but you said there's a lot of chocolate and,
That
and that
cocoa-
kind of stuff. Cocoa.
I was gonna say that
forward.
cocoa nib there, cacao nib.
Cacao. It's all forward.
It's
to me.
right there.
Yeah.
That's more for me. A little bit more on the backseat for the cherry, but no, it's still really stellar stuff.
They also do one that's really popular. It's called con leche, and it's a sort of a Mexican style spiced coffee. I can't remember if it's a stout or a porter
Dang.
with
Sounds
lactose.
good.
They didn't have it at the time.
Every time they bring up Mexican chocolate, I'm always like, yes.
Well,
Well,
so
it's more like the Mexican coffee that's kind of spiced.
Right,
So it's a
right.
minor spice, but with the sweet chocolate, it's so good.
Well, it's like Stone has
Sounds
that.
tasty,
the,
I'll be honest.
The winter Chocovesa.
Right,
Right.
sure.
Still never
Chocovesa.
tried. I had a bottle. Someone traded me a bottle. I was bringing the beer in the house and
No.
fell off and smashed on the ground. Smelled amazing, but I'm not going to lick it off the road.
No,
I
it's like-
literally, every time I bring beers in that I know I can't replace, I'm like, you're going to drop this. You're going to drop this. I just imagine dropping them the whole time.
Well,
I'm holding them.
I opened the door of the
So I
car
don't
and I
drop
went to
them.
grab something and
hold it like a baby.
yeah.
yeah.
Like I was,
So-
yeah.
So not to throw it in your face, I'm like, I'm sorry, but we were at the Perch for lunch, and I actually had a Chocovesa on tap.
That's awesome.
It was delicious.
Super fresh,
It
super
was
good.
fresh. Yeah, it was really good.
I've had Eddie Topper a couple times, and I've had, Pliny the Elder a couple times. Like, we all are good at, sourcing beers that
yeah.
are hard to get.
That's why you make contacts and you trade across the United States, right? So
Hey, I got my first bottle of Pliny the Elder because I'm a Blackberry user.
There you go.
perfect.
There's got to be a good story there.
There was a guy that worked for BlackBerry through their other company, QNX, which is the one that secures a lot of cars. A lot of the onboard navigation and all that kind of stuff is secured by QNX. Same with nuclear power plants, all kinds of crazy stuff. And he saw my blog, Mike's Craft Beer, and we got talking. And then he's like, well, I'm in Vancouver a lot for work. Why don't I drop off a bottle of beer for you? And I had no idea what was coming, and it was Pliny the Elder, and a beer that I'd heard all kinds of stuff about. And, people trade all kinds of crazy shit or just go crazy for this beer.
It's definitely on a bucket list for a lot of people.
Yeah, and
that
I mean,
have Elder.
don't get me wrong, it's a really good beer. I've had a lot of beers that are probably better now.
Yeah.
But, there's the Elder Statement you want to try because this is the beer that kind of exploded the whole market. And, every area has their beer, and that was especially the one for California, Western United States.
Right. It's definitely, there's a lot of hype behind that beer.
Yeah.
And younger, even more so.
Yes. Well,
It's
one day I'll try that. Maybe.
Right.
Probably
Me
not.
too. But the fact that you even said that you're going to try the younger just proves the point of it being it's just a bucket list item, right? I just want to check it off. It doesn't mean it have to be even great or whatever. It's the experience of having that beer in general. So that's super cool.
Well, it's just like Hetty Topper from the East Coast, right?
Yep.
People, it's a really, really good beer. Don't get me wrong. And I will never drink it out of a can. I don't give a shit what Alchemist says. Always out of the cup.
Right.
But it's one of those things. It's a bucket list. You've got to try it. I want to try, Hill Farmstead one day. I've never had their beer. And
We have.
people just fucking kill for that beer.
Right.
And it's in the middle of nowhere.
Well, that's the thing about social media in general is that it is great for the hype train.
Yes.
There's a lot of beers in there that I don't even care what their beer is going to taste like. Really, you want to be able to try their beer, and check it in on Untappd and post a picture on Instagram or Facebook.
Definitely.
That's what it comes down to. But it's great, and that's why one of the things I love about being a beer geek or being a beer nerd or what do you want to call it is that that aspect of it really is what it comes down to. There's this really cool things where you're like, yeah, I tried that. Don't worry.
Yeah. It's like, do you like Star Wars? Beer nerd.
Yes. Yeah. There's a lot of beer nerds that are Star Wars fans. We've found a ton of that.
Definitely.
The BRI in general, so Beer Research Institute.
Yep.
Everyone makes it. They literally had for the last release here, they had the One-Armed Jedi, and they always have Dark Side Till I Die.
A brewery in Vancouver, or Metro Vancouver, in Richmond, Fuggles and Warlock. Their tap handles are lightsabers.
Nice.
They still have not got a cease and desist.
Still, it's right.
And their Russian Imperial Start was the dark side. You know, it's
Love it.
they keep putting.
I'll
They
try
also
it.
go both sides. They've got a milk stout that is bean me up, not beam, bean me up.
me up.
And everything is really nerdy there. The all their artwork is either like video game inspired or like Asian manga inspired.
Nice. Love that stuff.
One of the brewers is his wife is Japanese and she's big in. He's also Japanese, but she's big into the art scene there, so she does most of the labels for them.
God,
They're epic.
it's can art in general. That's why Pelo Vita, the hyperspace we had earlier.
Yeah.
They have a graphic designer locally that actually does a lot of their can art, and it is on point. Like I don't save cans for the most part. I save all their cans because
Awesome.
their cans are so great. I think that's a huge. Literally have a background in graphic design, so
nice.
For me to be like, this can is fucking phenomenal. I love it. So, always good to see their stuff.
Definitely.
So let's get into the infamous rapid round.
Molasses round?
Yeah, molasses. We thanks for beer and other shit for actually inspiring me to do this. I love that part of their show.
Yeah.
And I think that's great that they do it. I think they've mentioned it to me before. It's not rapid ever. It's really not.
No.
It's not rapid round. But I think there's a lot of good questions in there. I think it's super interesting to see people's different things that actually they do. So we kind of got inspired by them. I didn't want to take exactly what they said and do it, but a lot of the questions are pretty similar. So first off, what is your gateway beer, the beer that got you into craft beer?
I don't remember the exact beer.
Okay.
But all these people now that are trying to make these lagers to bring people in, that's not what brought me in. I was drinking all those shitty, crappy macro lagers, and I had a stout. I had an IPA, and at first I was like, this is garbage.
Right.
And then suddenly my friend Steve, that is also a blogger with me, he was bringing them over, and I'm like, holy shit, this has flavor. What is this? Like, what else is like this? And it wasn't, I don't remember what beer it was. I mean, it could even be Guinness. It wasn't. But
it's hard to pinpoint the exact.
I don't know what it was, but it was just something with big flavor. And I'm like, I'm never drinking this shit again. I can't drink yellow fizzy lager, even craft ones. I just don't enjoy them because there's not enough flavor for me.
I think the only lagers that I really like are the hoppy lagers.
IPLs.
Yeah.
Or like a Dunkel, like the sort of more dark German lagers or whatever. They're great.
Something a little more hops in it.
Yeah.
Usually what my fan is.
Or more malt even.
Malt. Yeah. It's
just more.
Right. Just more in general. And usually that style is just a very, like you said, watered down, light kind of flavor to it.
I don't care if it's hops or if it's malt.
Right.
Lots of it.
Something.
Hit me in the face with something.
Give me some flavor.
Yeah.
Let's keep that going.
Yeah.
So moped beer, aka guilty beer that you would be embarrassed to actually drink in front of your friends.
I don't really have one. Because again, like most of the guilty pleasure beers are usually some macro beer,
right?
Some shitty light lager. Great for them, but I mean, I would rather drink an IPA every day than
drinking.
Yeah, I guess some people don't like Radler, so let's say like a Radler.
Okay,
I love a Radler on a hot day, which is only half beer, but
grapefruit Radlers.
And that's probably the only way to drink a lager, in my opinion.
Yeah, no. I mean, being in Arizona, I think that would probably go more. Or at least better here because that's a very summery poolside kind of just really good beer.
Yeah.
And nothing wrong with that. So very cool.
That's as close as I can get. I'm not guilty about it at all, but
you're like, I'm just going to drink whatever I fucking want. That's how it works. Which is funny.
If you don't like it.
And it's funny because, as the difference between people that have this, are craft beer consumers and the brewers. That's totally different, right? The people that like drink craft beer is like, I don't fucking drink craft beer, man. I'm not drinking anything else. And then you get to brewers, and brewers are like, I fucking drink whatever I want, dude. I don't care. It's
unless they're talking to someone, fuck macro, blah, blah, blah. I'll have that. I'll have that light lager from Coors or whatever.
Yeah, I'm gonna barbecue. That's cool, man. Whatever. What do you got? Yeah, so I'll drink that. So
but
it's
if they're on a microphone or something, fuck macro.
it is weird that we've definitely interviewed a lot of people that are like, nah, I'll drink whatever the fuck I want, dude. I don't care. Just I'm not bashful.
Yeah.
So the next one is beer that you. So it's kind of the same. This is actually pretty much verbatim what the BAOS says.
Yeah.
What beer would you decline under any circumstance? Like you were at a barbecue and they literally reached in the cooler and like, here you go, man, and they popped one. Would it be like, what would that be?
Every macro lager. And most likely every yellow fizzy craft lager.
So
the only craft lagers I drink are ones that I'm given to review for my blog.
Okay.
And I'll give it its fair shake for what it is.
Right.
But if I'm drinking a lager, it's either a blog beer or I've been abducted by aliens.
So like a Molson Triple X, is that even still a thing?
I think that's an East Coast thing.
Oh, it's East Coast?
Yeah.
Dude, I'm from Michigan, right? And so
it's like a Labatt 50, which everyone talks about
yeah.
on the East Coast. And I'm like, what the fuck is that?
And people drive to Canada and buy some beer and they bring it back to Michigan. We drink
Yeah.
it. And it was just like, Molson Triple X. This is a real thing? All right, cool. And at the time.
Porn beer.
Yeah, it's a Triple X is like, I don't know what that means, but it's stronger, I guess. I don't know what this means. And then,
don't know yet.
we had at the time there was like Molson Ice Hole was another one. It was like
Molson Ice, which was the the beer got too cold and it froze. Let's release it a little bit stronger.
Yeah, the Ice Hole, which was just made me funny because it was really close to asshole back in the day. So we love saying Ice Hole a ton. I don't know why, but that's how it works.
Yeah. Makes sense to me.
Yeah. Which I said, like Nate said earlier, we actually got made fun of.
He's the Ice Hole.
Yeah, well, yeah, 100% true. Somebody may have commented at one point that we do a lot of dick and fart jokes in this podcast, and it makes me laugh because at heart I'm a 13-year-old boy, and dick and fart jokes will always be funny to me.
I think most men are like that.
Yeah,
yes.
So cool. Thanks for the compliment, I guess.
Yeah, exactly.
That's fine with me. Whatever you're gonna do. So one thing that should never be in a beer. Right. So like if you're thinking of all things you're going to put in a beer and you're like, really anchovy. Okay. So fish is.
It's so hard because you hear an ingredient, you go, what the fuck? And then you have it and it's great.
Right.
I mean, Twin Sails that we just were drinking, they had a brewery from Quebec over and they're like, what can we do that's weird?
Yeah.
And a lot of people have done oyster stouts.
Right. Which that's mostly for the shells, right? Because of the whole,
It gives a metallic, a little bit metallic, not in a bad way,
right.
but metallic and salty flavor. Why don't we do a crab saison?
Right.
And they put crabs in the boil. And then they brewed with crab. They ate the crab. And they drank the beer, right?
So, but they put crab in the beer?
Yeah.
Was it good? I mean,
I never tried it.
Oh, man.
I missed the bottles, but I'm not even a seafood fan. Like I like fish, but I'm not a seafood guy. But I don't think there's any real ingredient that should be left out of beer because
wait.
Who the hell knows if it's going to be good or not?
So, I mean, this is a tree bark.
Have beers like that, yeah.
Just tree bark and beer. That seems weird.
Well, I mean,
gravel. That's
why not? I mean, have you ever had a Stein beer?
No.
A Stein beer, instead of having the proper kettle that heats the beer up, you superheat rocks and you slate and you drop it in, right?
Yeah.
So again, right, you can use rocks there. There was a brewery in, I think it was Iceland, and I almost tried this beer, and sadly I didn't get a chance, and it's so gross.
Right.
They took, it was whale testicles.
Okay.
And they smoked it on sheep dung. And made a beer out of it. And it's so gross sounding and so awful. But someone I know had a bottle of it and I almost had to try it. And I would have tried it for science because that's disgusting. Yeah. But
so here's the thing is it's not the question isn't what should be in a beer that you would never try.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot I'm with you. Like for science, let's try this and see how it's gonna taste. Because I'm interested. I'm always I'm curious a little bit to see how it's gonna taste. It's what should you never put in a beer?
I haven't found it yet.
Really? There's nothing really like
corn for no reason.
So
corn syrup. I guess corn syrup.
Yeah, okay. There you go.
Like I've had beer that has corn for
fructose.
a reason to make just corn, not fructose even. Okay. But corn, a little more sweetness.
There you go.
But it wasn't to make it cheaper. It was for a reason. But if you're just adding corn syrup just to make it cheaper, fuck you.
Okay.
Period.
All right.
But really, I don't think there's any ingredient you shouldn't add because who's to say it isn't interesting?
Just a handful of dirt, like in the yard. Like
Again, like
I mean, like if you use it in the process, that makes sense. But like just to add it for
when it comes down to it, what is in most filters?
Yeah.
Diatomaceous earth,
Yeah,
which is
true.
fossilized whatever. So I mean, is it that weird?
I mean, dog poop.
Probably not.
That's what I'm saying. There's got to be something.
Yeah, but you know what I mean, right? Like
We're gonna spend the next 20 minutes to figure out what it should be. Like this would be like no,
Definitely.
I gotta find something. It's got to be something you can say.
oh, dog poop I wouldn't want in the beer.
All right, there
but you
you
know
go.
what I mean, right? Like
Yeah. I mean, remember there's a lot of things. Like there's like Rogue did the beard.
and I had a lot of trouble trying it. Tried it. I loved it.
Oh, it's really good. It was actually totally fun. My wife totally freaked out about it, which I didn't tell her it was that until after she tried it, and then she was like, "I don't like this. That's gross." And I was like, "You didn't say that before,
Yeah.
but okay, now you do." These fools make fun of me for that too, and I was like,
Actually, you know what? There is something.
"Okay,
Vagina yeast beer.
right."
Never fucking drinking that.
Yeah, well-
never.
I don't care if you're a supermodel or you're not. That doesn't make a difference to me. That just because you're pretty on the outside doesn't make your vagina yeast better.
I'm sorry, but
That seems weird.
just you got to think of all the problems that come with
Yeah.
sexuality if you're not careful. Not interested.
No.
But there we go. There's the one ingredient.
All right. All right. Then we can move to the next question.
Molasses round.
That's so funny. Favorite place to have a beer. So it could be, I mean, a lot of people take this as, I want to drink a beer, and the place I would drink a beer normally, or like really it's meant to be, if I could choose one spot on this planet to have a beer at all times, like where would that be?
The best place to have a beer is on a mountain peak in the middle of fucking nowhere with maybe one other person, just dead quiet, nothing around, maybe a little bit of snow here, probably not.
Yeah, no Flagstaff. We get some snow in
Flagstaff,
Flagstaff.
yeah, you do, yes.
Yeah, no.
But just sitting up there and just looking out over mountain peaks and nothing else, or desert and nothing else.
Very nice.
Just in the middle of wilderness, nothing around.
Is it more of the
It's the experience.
you kind of experience, like
Yeah.
it's the I've hiked this mountain, I got to the top of this place, I did actually whole the hiking experience, and I got there, and that makes it more
Yes.
worth it. Right?
Well, and just you sit in a pub or whatever,
right,
whatever.
right.
You get up there and some of the most beautiful wilderness or beautiful views and a beautiful beer.
Right.
Yeah.
Very cool.
For me, at least.
Yeah, dude.
But I'm a nature guy, so.
Mine in general would be that if I'm, no matter where it's at, sitting on a lake somewhere, on the side of a lake in a chair, some friends, maybe there's a fire in the
Definitely.
background, I don't even care. Outside in the wilderness, like outside in, nature, and having a beer by the lake would be great.
Definitely.
So, love it.
Basically the same thing, a little lower.
Yeah, exactly. A little lower elevation, but
Not always, though.
yeah. There's a lot of mountain lakes. It's totally
Yes,
cool.
exactly.
Climb a mountain, go to a lake, drink a beer.
I do a lot of that, too.
I'm okay with that too. So I guess this one is what's the next big trend in craft beer for at least where you're from?
My least favorite lagers.
So I mean,
Fuck lagers.
it's funny because I think,
But I think when it comes down to it, the juice bombs have taken off. I
Okay.
mean, we've got a couple breweries that are killing it and a couple breweries that are doing a pretty good job at it. Everyone's trying to make them.
Excellent.
I would love to see a change, and it's not going to happen, but I'd love to see a change to like Stein beers,
okay,
because the addition of superheated rocks gets that caramelization that you get in a lot of the big imperial stouts and stuff without the imperial alcohol content. It's not going to happen, but I'd love to see it.
yeah,
Please do it. Because you don't always want to have 11% alcohol,
right.
but you want that flavor. And goddamn, our imperial stout's tasty.
It's that's cool. It's funny, like you say that lagers are kind of like the
They are. They're the trend.
It's different between a trend and what you would like to see happen, right? Like those are two, like those are two different kind of things, and
Yeah.
and there's definitely there's things that I see as a trend here and that I would love to happen here, but it just seems weird because lagers. But if you asked me what the most popular beer in Canada would be, it'd be a lager.
Oh, it is. Well, it's everywhere, right?
Right.
Everywhere.
Yeah, I mean, unless we're discounting, macro beers in general. Like if we're not talking about the bigger beer, right? Then maybe it'd be a little different. But
Oh, but if you're not talking macro beer, it's IPAs and
It's-
stouts. Yeah.
Which again to me would still seem weird though. Like I wouldn't think that like IPAs would be such a huge. But
You got to remember Pacific Northwest, right?
Right.
We get a lot of our beer culture from Washington, from Oregon.
Yeah, that makes sense.
It's probably similar to you. I'm sure it spreads. I mean, I'm sure you get a lot from California too.
Oh, a ton of.
But I'm sure a lot of it came from the Pacific Northwest originally because it seems like the original beer scene started in the Pacific Northwest and spread for craft beer, and then it hit the Northeast and then started going crazy juice bombs. And it's funny because a lot of these styles of beers come from Old World, come from England, Germany, Czech, and then we've got IPA that it might have come from England, but US and Canada have owned that, taken it to themselves, and the only one that really exploded was IPA. I mean, you've got Northwest, Northeast, English, you've got all these different
there's not an East Coast brown, right?
No.
Like it's brown, it's a brown ale, right? So it's really
or it's an American and an English.
Yeah, exactly.
And it's still an American in Canada, right? It's an American brown, English brown.
So it's funny. Like I'm reading a book right now, and that it's called Hops and Glory from Pete Brown, and he's a British writer, and he actually it's basically the idea of the story is that nobody's ever questioned that thought of an IPA. Yeah. Right. The story of an IPA is that, the British actually brewed it because they needed to go to India because it wouldn't last the journey and blah, blah, blah. Right. Like that's the whole, and I'm definitely guilty of it. I've definitely like given that response to people. Oh, it's an IPA because it's Indian Pale Ale. That's the journey. And so he wanted to test that theory, like, because nobody's ever really broke down that, like the history. Like, is that actually a true, is that a true story? Is that just marketing? Right. And so I'm like literally reading into it. It's really interesting to just be like, yeah, you know what? Is that actually the lineage of what an IPA is? Yeah. So I'm not that far into it, so I can't really get into much more of it, but super interesting to read so far. He's trying to basically recreate the sea voyage from England and then basically go the whole route back to India. So that's where I'm at in the book right now. But it's super great read.
Thanks, Russia, for Russian imperial studies.
You're right. And those French with the fries, they're great.
Yes, they are.
So good.
We perfected it with poutine.
Sorry,
Quebec.
No.
Perfected it.
So I have my buddy is from Montana, and totally sidebar at this point. Came down here and actually met him, and we went to dinner after a long night of drinking. Yeah, we went to a restaurant, and he asked the waitress if he had to order a poutine. And the waitress was super offended by that. She totally didn't know what that was. Thought it was something super derogatory and insensitive, and would not wait us anymore. Like, we had to get a different waiter because she was so upset. It was the funniest thing ever in the world.
Gravy and cheese curds.
Yeah, and so we had to explain that to our current waiter. She was totally okay with it, and then it went from there. But it was just the funniest thing ever in the world. It was like, yeah, that's not a bad thing.
No, it's not.
It's delicious. Because you guys wondered. So having a craft beer blog and kind of doing a podcast, have you had a moment where kind of like a beer geek out moment where you met somebody or got to talk to somebody that where you normally wouldn't got that access except for having to be able to do this?
I think probably I think we mentioned the last episode, the Whistler Beer Fest, meeting Jamie Floyd from Ninkasi.
Okay.
If it wasn't for being at that beer fest and talking to one of the brewmasters of a local brewery, I would never met him. And he's a cool guy. He invited me down. I haven't been down yet, but that was amazing because I think everyone knows Ninkasi in the beer scene. You may not have had their beers, but they're one of those breweries you know about. They make crazy IPAs. Their barley wine is too bitter for me because I prefer English barley wines, but they're well known for their beers. Sure. And that was probably the one because, being in Canada, we're all too polite and, it's... every brewery you meet, they're just the guy next door, like, hey, how's it going? Right. I don't have a geek out moment for a local guy because it's just like he feels like your neighbor. Right. But Jamie Floyd's one of those ones, just like, holy crap.
That's awesome. That's kind of I guess one of the things about doing a podcast is that no matter what, like you meet really cool people, and then at the end of the day, you really just realize that they're just people. Yeah. Really.
I don't think it helped either that as I was getting into beer, it was like 6 months to a year when I started blogging about it. Okay. So it was really fast where I shifted into sort of without being an employee of the breweries, became part of the beer scene.
Gotcha.
So it was a really quick transition. So it wasn't like, you were for years just going to these breweries and then putting them on pedestals. It was just kind of like, hey, how's it going? Nice to meet you. Whereas a lot of people put people on pedestals. And,
Well, it's funny, like starting this podcast. I mean, we definitely had a long history of drinking beer, and Jeff loves to tell you like what we talk about or what we do and say is literally used to be called a Saturday night for us, right? Like we'd like just get together and bullshit. Like, hey, did you see this article? Did you see this thing? And then I just was like, you know what? I don't see my friend. I had a child. I got married, and so like my time was kind of like pulled in a different direction. And so the time that I did get to hang out with my friends and talk to them, it literally was always just about beer.
Yeah.
And I was like, we should just, I have some free time. Let's just actually do this free time and let's talk about beer. Like normally do is just record it and then share with people. And like, it's so weird to be able to, have that conversation with people and just, I don't know. I mean, just it's nice. It's really cool to, be part of. At this point, we're like a little over a year at this point now. And we've been accepted in the craft beer community, instantly. Like I thought when we first started, it was going to take time and at some point we'd be accepted and they're like, because you start it and you're like, nobody's going to talk to me. We're just random people who want to talk to us. And then you quickly find out that everybody wants to talk to you and people want to like spread their word and their message and their, what they're all about, kind of their story to everybody in the world. And that's what you do. So it was really cool to be, I thought it would happen at some point, but not this quickly.
Yeah, for sure.
This was awesome. So medals in general, do you think they're a good thing for a brewery? Do you think they're a bad thing? Do you think they help the brewing industry in general? Do you think they actually help bring everybody kind of up?
Personally, I don't care about them that much, but I think they're really important. Yeah. Because I think the average person gives huge shit about medals. I mean, you got those music metal shows, and you've got movie metal shows and TV, and people want recognition. And yes, I'm not going to buy a beer because it won that award, but because I already know about it, because I'm already hunting down the best beers. Whereas the average consumer doesn't know about that. And that beer in the middle of nowhere, they're going to want to hunt that down now because it won an award. In Canada, Mount Begbie Brewing Company, which is in a small town in the Kootenays, in the North Kootenays, they won for best beer in Canada. And now people are clamoring for that beer. Whereas people hadn't heard of their brewery before.
Right.
I mean, it's all over BC, but outside of BC, you're not going to find their beer. And now that's going to change. And they had just moved into a new brewing space. They expanded, and then they won. It happened the same thing with a brewery in a town called Chilliwack. They were a small little brewery. They were well respected in BC. They weren't huge. Right. And then they won for best beer in Canada for their Sasquatch Stout. And they went from the small little brewery to having to expand and expand and expand. And for a while, all they made is that one beer because they couldn't keep up. So it makes sense. Like, they're very important because the average consumer, they hear something one, they're going to go for it.
Right.
And I mean, when it comes down to it, who gives a shit about us beer geeks? Because we're going to trumpet it like we can, but it's the average consumer that's going to keep a brewery afloat. And if the average consumer doesn't know about that beer, who fucking cares?
Right. I mean, it definitely makes sense to help bolster a reputation of a brewery, right? Especially you're sitting in a bottle shop and you see this giant wall of just beers, and if one has a label that says we're a medal winner for this, that's going to pique your interest, right? It's going to help you go, oh yeah, it makes sense. The other perspective I thought was that if I'm a brewery and I don't have any competition really, right? And I make beer and I go, okay, well, I make good beer and people that come to my brewery like my beer and they're going to drink it no matter what. And it's cool. And then I'm just going to stay and feel very comfortable in this kind of realm of making beer. And then we get other people to come in and they start making beer. They start winning medals. And then I go, wait, they're making better beer than me. Well, I got up my game, right?
Yeah.
And then if you have that kind of happen across a couple different breweries, then everybody's kind of beer making abilities kind of raise up a little bit.
Definitely,
so, that was my thought is that it will, if you breed competition, it's going to make everybody better across the board.
And I mean, if you never plan on changing from a small, tiny little regional nano brewery,
right?
Who gives a shit?
Yeah.
But if you want to grow past being a small little regional brewery to something that has a state or provincial or international distribution, The awards win. They help.
Right.
I mean,
They totally do.
we know about Plight of the Elder. We know about, Bells Two Hearted, because they've won awards and because they're geeked about. It's not because some beer geek in the middle of nowhere talks about them.
Right.
It's because they're well respected. They've won awards. People hunt them down.
Yeah. Get these accolades kind of.
Yeah, exactly.
Boost them up, so no, super great, man. I agree. It's kind of interesting to see people like, especially brewers, like, there's certain brewers that's what they brew for.
Yeah.
Is to win medals. And there's certain ones that are like, I don't care. I don't really care about.
Don't get me wrong. Yeah. I mean, Twin Sails that we had that Imperial Stout earlier, their first year winning awards in BC was this year because they do not brew to style guidelines at all.
Well, and that's the other thing too, is that, if you talk about GABF and stuff, it's like, that's a very specific, like you said, guidelines. Like there's like, our beer has to fit this guideline to even get into a category. And if you're not in that guideline, then you fit in some weird other like assorted category, which could be who knows what.
Yeah.
That's not, most people don't brew that way, especially, and it's funny that, we kind of talked about hipsters earlier a little bit, right? And that's one thing, like I said, that hipsters kind of contributed to craft beer, is that this mentality of, we don't have to fit into a certain category, right? Like this is the box of category of this kind of like IPA or this stout or whatever. And or traditionalist brewers, they're literally like adjuncts, no problem.
Yep.
Let's try this. As
long as it's for flavor, right?
It's flavor, right? Wren House threw in the swirl that we have. It's a stout. They threw in ice cream cones into it just to see. Right? Literally. That kind of mentality you wouldn't get from a traditional brewer, right? They're like, well, no, there's no way we're going to do that.
Oh yeah.
That it literally helps the beer. It's an ice cream flavored beer. Let's throw cones in it. Let's see what happens.
Well, how many brewers shit on Northeast IPAs?
That's a ton.
The beer's not ready. Well, the beer tastes friggin' epic, so who gives a shit if it's not ready?
And that's the thing, is it's funny that it comes down, like, all things aside, when you judge a beer, like aroma or all those kind of things, really taste is the biggest category. It should be, no matter what. Like, no matter what else you have in that thing, does it taste good?
Yes.
That's the important part to me.
Number one, period.
Right. And there's a lot of people that don't think that. Like, there's just when they homebrew, there's like, no, we have hazy. Like, when you have beers that are like cloudy and full of stuff, that means you're a bad brewer.
Yes.
And that's what their philosophy and their whole mentality, their whole life's been. So it's hard to kind of change that to something that's different. So it's just kind of weird that, I don't want to give hipsters credit, but they kind of brought that kind of mentality to the craft beer.
Give them one thing.
Yeah, I'll give them one thing. I'll give them that bone. So.
Perfect.
All right, man. Well, thanks for being on the show. I appreciate you being here and talking with us and chatting.
My pleasure. It's been awesome.
So if people want to find you on social media, where should they go to look you up and hear your stuff?
You can go on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, Pacific Beer Chat. You can find Pacific Beer Chat on Stitcher, iTunes, Google Play, and Podchaser, everywhere that you can get a podcast.
Right.
I also write a beer blog, mikescraftbeer.com, or look up Mike's Craft Beer on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook. Excellent. Cheers.
Cheers. So if you want to follow us on Instagram or social media, again, Hoppy Craftsmen at basically Instagram, Facebook. Our website is hoppycraftsmen.beer. We love that. The best people in the fucking world are our patron supporters. They actually support us, help give us money to make this happen all the time. Cena Gomez, Mark Balasaros, Javier Gonzalez. That's it. I think that's 3 people. Oh, then San Diego Beer Talk.
Yes.
Jeez, those
Beer
guys.
Talk.
SC Beer Radio. Yeah, those guys. Met them last time we were actually in San Diego. Hung out with Greg and stuff.
Nice.
So
that's awesome.
Super cool guys.
Well, the beer's really good here, guys.
Thank you.
Maybe you should come to Arizona and try it.
Yeah,
but they won't because they barely leave their neighborhood.
Yeah. We'll get on that one as well. We'll send them some beers to get them out here. So
good luck.
Yeah, thanks. All right, guys. Thanks for listening. And as always, I'm Chris.